Hi, welcome to this episode of Globalization, Global Brands and Branding. These videos were aimed when I began at India's policymakers and at Indian business leaders. And here is reason number one why. India's trade deficit has been growing for a long time, and the headlines pretty much screamed out that this was the highest trade deficit in India's history. This deficit was because of a continued and increasing preference of Indian consumers for brands from across the world, and the losers in this case for the Indian consumer's pocket were Indian brands. This is a slide that shows the market capitalization of just 4 brands from the US today. Apple at $2 trillion, and Alphabet, used to be called Google, Amazon, and Microsoft, each of them at about $1 trillion. That's a $5 trillion market cap, 2.5 times that of India's total GDP. Creating brands in your country helps improve the quality of lives of the citizens. In Interbrand's list of the 100 most powerful brands in the world, we've already mentioned Apple, Google, Microsoft, Amazon. All of them rank right at the top. Somewhere near the lower half, in the past 5-6 years, 2 Chinese brands, People's Republic of Chinese brands, Huawei and Haier, have entered as well. More significantly, there is no Indian brand in this list. Now, the comparison with China has been the underpinning of most of my previous episodes for a very simple reason. Here are 2 neighboring countries with the largest populations in the world. Both of them ranked as the 2 largest economies in the world. And then they were colonized. Then came industrialization. And both of them fell into deep poverty. They've been independent for almost the same number of years. And you will note significantly that China's GDP today stands at about 5 to 5.5 times that of India. Wasn't Make in India, which began in 2014, 5 years before I began making these series, meant to address this issue? No, it cannot, and here's another reason why. Well before Make in India, there was a Make in China, where Chinese invited multinational corporations, famous brands from across the world, to come and make in China. The Chinese companies that manufacture an iPhone charge Apple $300, whereas Apple, at an average, does not sell any of its iPhones for a price of less than $600. China realized very quickly that it had to create its own brands, otherwise it would remain a sweatshop. For a country that desperately needed to give a better quality of life to its citizens, this could not go on. Next reason for this is something more recent, which is this hashtag war of boycotting China that began a few months ago because of some border tensions between the 2 countries. Did Indian consumers boycott Chinese brands in India? Yes. Their market share has fallen from possibly about 80% to around 70%. Have the other 10% shifted to Indian smartphone brands? No. They simply shifted to Samsung if they were concerned about price. And for those who could afford it, would have shifted to Apple's iPhones. The same was true and is still true of Indian passenger car brands. If you look at this figure today, the 2 remaining brands of Indian automobile passenger cars, Tatas and Mahindra, hardly occupy about 15 to 16% of the Indian market today. The only exception, I think, and credit must go where it's due, is to Indian brands of motorcycles and scooters. They've been quite successful in exporting their products to Africa and Latin America. Together, they account for the majority of market share in India. But here too, there's a twist to the tale which I'll come to. I'll take this example. You will note that Indian consumers will buy an Indian brand only if there is a substantial saving in price. Why are Indian consumers continuing to favor foreign brands? Let me continue the story and I'll tell you an experience from my career which will help understand why. I was extremely fortunate to be in an advertising agency at this point in time. So my client Escorts tied up with Yamaha to manufacture their motorcycles in this country. When I was told that I should get prepared at my advertising agency to come up with a campaign to launch this brand and sell it successfully, I saw it as a challenge. Escorts' estimate was that this motorcycle would cost approximately 24 to 25,000 rupees, even if they weren't to make a profit. And to put that into perspective, a SD was about 12,000 rupees, an Enfield was around 15,000 rupees, and even more important, an Indian consumer could buy an Indian-made brand of passenger cars for as little as 30 to 31,000. Would somebody buy a 25,000 rupee motorcycle in what was even then a pretty poor country? I partnered up with IMRB, and along with some of my colleagues, we took 3 or 4 motorcycles to different cities, and where we would, without showing the bikes, ask motorcyclists what was their ideal motorcycle, what should it have, what are the shortcomings of their existing motorcycle, etc., etc. How much would they pay for a motorcycle that was close to their ideal, etc. And understanding that, we would then offer the same people an opportunity to ride the Yamaha 350. Now, an interesting thing happened, a before and after effect. Vast majority of riders said, no, this is too high a price. But when we gave them the motorcycle to ride, not one of them said that it's too expensive. All they said was, I can't afford it, but I wish I could. And the rest, who did not balk at the price, and they didn't, especially because the acceleration and the speed of this motorcycle was something that very few Indians had ever experienced before in their lives. Apart from maybe stunt riders in Bollywood. That's one of the audiences we tested, by the way. Or some very affluent people in India's major metros. And all these people wanted to know was, when are you going to launch it? Here is my name, here is my number, please let me know. Now this is the power of what we call the user experience. Underpinning every brand is a superior product, and the product is called superior because it delivers a very, very superior user experience. Emboldened by this, we went back to Delhi, where I worked along with my colleagues from IMRB, and extrapolated the data we'd got, the yeses, nos, and maybes, and estimated that we would be able to get, this product would be able to attract, despite the fact that its brand name was unknown at that time, at least about 10,000 buyers within a year of opening of the sales. This was interesting because the client had hoped for and was expecting only 5,000 motorcycles to be sold in year 1 and for the number to grow up gradually. So we were given a fairly large budget, which we apportioned for about a month to month and a half to announce the launch of the brand and the names of the dealers, etc., booking amount, blah, 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 blah. We had to cancel the campaign within 2 weeks because we got 18,000 bookings in 15 days. So one may say that's the power of the brand. Yes, it is. But like I said, it's actually the power of the product of that brand because the brand was unknown. And the power of the product comes from the experience they delivered to the users. Yamaha felt this was a difficult challenge that they'd passed and they were ready for bigger things. 2 years later, they launched a new factory to produce a new motorcycle. The younger brother of the Yamaha RD350, which they called the RX100. Priced at about the same price as the other Japanese competitors in India, Hero Honda, TVS Suzuki, Bajaj Kawasaki. Although people had got to know that this would be a bit of a guzzler compared to, let's say, the benchmark bike, Hero Honda, which used to promise about 80 kilometers a liter, this bike wouldn't give maybe 31 or 32. No problem selling the 100,000 and several more for years after that. When a customer buys an unknown brand based on its superior user experience for the first time, he or she is buying a product. Then when he buys the next product from the same company, then he is buying the brand. Because the RX100s, we did not have to do any test rides to check whether people would pay for this brand or not. So I hope that puts into perspective what actually a brand is and separates it from its advertising. The advertising is merely announcing the fact that this product is available. The advertising can at best show them the tuning fork in the case of the Yamaha logo to make the logo familiar. That is a recall device, which is not the brand by itself. The brand is the user experience, and names, logos, etc. are just recall devices so that the customer knows exactly where to go when he wants to buy a product from the brand that lies behind the name and the logo. So thanks a lot, and hope to meet you soon with the next episode. Bye. If you like this episode, please do hit the like and subscribe button, share it with people who you think may be interested in it, and ring the notification bell in case you want to be informed about the next episode when it comes up on air. Finally, don't forget to put your comments and suggestions in the section below.